Diapers on a Plane.
Hello and welcome to Diapers on a Plane, episode number 54. Today it's just Catherine and I. We're talking about kind of a serious topic. This is a topic we've been wanting to cover quite some time. It is about child trafficking, which is a serious, harsh, hard topic to cover. It's very controversial for some reason, which it really shouldn't be in this day and age. But we believe that the more we shed light on child trafficking, the more people can be aware with it. And so we wanted to share a story that we had from a few years ago where we had a brush in with potential child traffickers.
Yeah, so I mean, it's hard to say exactly like what you would call what we experienced because we weren't even really sure what was happening in the moment. We just knew something was very, very off about the situation. And it was after we kind of looked into what had happened and reflected on what had happened and had the opportunity to really, I guess, kind of research and look into the characteristics and the behavior of what we experienced that we realized exactly what was happening. And so what's really scary about that is that had we not been aware, had we not been paying attention, the story could have ended very differently.
Yeah, so the story we're going to tell kind of opened up our eyes. Like, we'd already been aware with it, but it kind of a holy crap moment. And this is interesting because we wrote a blog post about this topic. It's actually about experience we had at Disneyland. A lot of people have a lot of strong feelings, either positive or negative, about Disneyland. So even the response to people reading our blog post have either been, thank you for putting this out there, or they've even conversely told us we're lying about our story, because I think some people will defend Disneyland to a T. And first of all, when we share the story, Disneyland is not at fault here.
Well, this really has nothing to do with Disneyland. No. This just happened at Disneyland. And, you know, we were going to Disneyland all the time. We loved Disneyland. You know, Gabriel was a cast member at the time. I worked for the airline, as you know, and we were traveling there. We were taking day trips there. I would go alone there all the time. This was not a place that we ever felt wasn't the happiest and safest place on earth, and we loved it. And it did have a good outcome, but there are some things that needed to be, you really cast a light on, and there are some things that Disney could have improved on.
Actually, we loved it, and we still love Disneyland, even though we haven't been for a while.
Yeah, I mean, we have no disparaging comments, and this isn't a disparaging blog in regards to Disneyland. It's just happened at Disneyland, and that it is important to note that it happened at Disneyland, which means it can happen anywhere. Including a park where you pay an entrance fee, and, you know, all people from all walks of life, you know, come there.
So let's hop into the story. So this was 2016.
Yeah, 5 years ago. So we had the twins and we had Eclair, and Eclair was a little bit over a year. You know, we had two little girls. We were actually going to Disney with Gabe's cousins. There were 6 kids in total, and 5 of them were girls.
Yep, 5 beautiful young girls,
yeah.
Right?
Cute little girls that were super, super excited. And of course, when you go to Disneyland and you have little girls, what is one of the first fast pass ticket items that you're gonna do?
They want to see Princess Elsa, right? So we were in line. Where was it? It was the Finding Nemo area, right?
Yeah, so it's the animation area over at Hollywood Studios, and it's inside, which is really nice. And they had really kind of just formatted this whole fast pass, so you actually had a time to come back. You weren't waiting for hours and hours and hours. And so we're in line, and you've got Turtle Crush Talk, and then you have the animators like Sorcerers. It's inside the hat, and you had the animation over to the side, and you're right in the center, and there was just this big long line, and you had to go through this line, and then you got to the second line that was inside where you actually could see the princess.
So in a nutshell, we were in a line to see the princesses, probably about a 30-minute line with our fast passes, so we still had to wait a while. And so we were
still outside. We weren't in to see the princesses.
Right, we were behind some gates, right? Off to the center area, and we weren't really thinking about anything of it. We were chatting with my cousins and her wife. Our kids were either sitting or playing right next to us. And as we're waiting in line, this older gentleman who looked like a grandpa, came up and said, "Hey, do you mind if..." What did he say? He just kind of said, "Do you mind if I kind of..."
No, he didn't say anything. And let's talk about what he looked.
Standing behind us,
let's talk about what he looked like first. He looked like a grandpa. I remember he had a fishing hat on. He was not dressed very nondescript clothing. He had a fisherman's hat on. He had brown hair. His fisherman's hat was very low. I remember he had dark brown hair. hair, and he was fairly overweight.
Right, yeah. So we thought enough of them because he was standing behind us in line. We assumed he had a fast pass.
What we noticed though is that he kept moving back when he got to the front of the line where you're supposed to exit first line and go into where the princesses are and wait in the second queue.
Yeah.
He like kept holding back, and he wasn't actually going through the line.
So it's
he
where
was conversing with lots of different people.
It's where you have to show your fast pass to actually get through it.
And we just thought he was a super fan, you know, like we've been there before. Like we've gotten fast passes, and Gabe's taken one of the kids on a ride like that maybe the younger kid couldn't ride on, and I've got fast passes for the next one. I'm like, okay, I'll just hold our spot and he'll get here any minute, and we'll just let people go ahead, and it's okay. So this was not a warning sign. It didn't seem awkward at all. It just, you know, Disney has all sorts of different fans. So he started making small talk with us, and we were almost up to the front of the queue. He started making small talk with us, and then he started moving through the line with us. So we kind of figured that, you know, he must have gotten a text from his family.
Yeah, I actually thought maybe he was waiting for his wife or something. Or I wasn't sure. I didn't really ask him.
I just remember he always had his phone out. He never put his phone away, and it never went dark. And so he was chatting with us, and then he started chatting with us, and he was asking us really inappropriate personal questions. The questions weren't inappropriate. It was inappropriate how personal they were. So he wanted to know the exact ages of our children. He wanted to know their names. He wanted to know where we were from. He wanted to know how far and what mode of transportation we took to get to Disney. And these were not conversational questions. They were very, very pointed. In fact, at one point I was like, I remember even saying like, you know, we don't share personal information like that. Then that was when he asked us if he could go ahead with us. So at that point he was like, I'm gonna go ahead with you, and could you just call me Grandpa and pretend like I'm with you?
Yeah, I just remember he said he just really wanted to take some pictures of the princesses, which I thought creepy, but okay, whatever.
Well, what did that have to do with us? That was the trigger for me. It's like anybody can go through and take pictures with princesses. Right. Why did you need to go in with us?
Well, my assumption is because he didn't have a fast pass and he wanted to go through quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I was like, okay, weird. Okay, whatever.
Yeah. So we go in, and you know, when you finally make it to that second queue, there's just 2 or 3 people with you. There's just 2 or 3 groups. Right. And so we get in, somebody's taking their picture with Anna and Elsa, and then it's the people ahead of us. And he's, you know, still making, you know, kind of small talk with us.
So there was a family ahead of us, and I actually remember it was a cute Hispanic family. It looked like a single mom, and she had 2 or 3 little daughters. I remember there were 2 cute little girls with her going up to hug Anna and Elsa, and I was chatting with my cousin Joe, and I just remembered they went up there and they were hugging Elsa and getting the cast members were taking pictures. But I just remembered that this woman had her 2 kids up there hugging Elsa, and this old guy, he stepped up like he knew them pretty much and just started shooting pictures of the princess and the little girls. And the
little girls were like facing directly forward, so you could see, you know, their age, their height, and the full features of their face.
Right. And so he was up there just taking pictures of those kids, and that's when the spider senses really kicked off with my cousin and I were like, okay, this is not right? And so we stood there behind the line, and then that woman left with her kids, and the Disney cast member then told us to go ahead to take pictures. This guy was still standing there, and we're like
standing there in full view of where you would take
standing
photos.
There waiting to take pictures, like next
of our children now,
next to the photographer, and we're like, no, we're okay. And
you need to go first, is what was said.
And so the old guy just said, no, go send your kids up, and we were like, nope. And the old guy kept telling us to come up. The cast members kept telling us to go up. Yeah, that's when
you asked to look at his phone.
Yeah, that's when Joe and I stood up and asked to look at his phone, and he's like, what are you talking about? And we just started calling the guy up and said, I have no idea who this guy is. You're not taking pictures of my kids. And he kept saying, no, it's okay. Just go up and see the princess. And we just told him, like, no way in hell you're taking pictures of our kids. Let me see your phone. You better not have pictures of our kids on there. And the cast member just looked like a deer in the headlights. She was just like, what is going on here? And we just said, we have no idea who this guy is, and he's trying to take pictures of our kids. And then the guy just took off.
Well, before he took off, I just remember him saying, like, you can go see them. I promise I won't take any pictures of your kids. And we were just like, you're not going to be anywhere near our family. And it was to the point where he was like, he just went full on creep.
So I think the thing that just blew me away was how brazen this guy was. Like, it was like in your face, like, no, it's okay, I'm going to take pictures of your kids. And it's like, the hell you are, dude. Like, and yeah, we were about ready to rip his phone. I wish we had just ripped it out of his hands, because that was when I was 100% sure this guy is nefarious and this is not okay.
Well, and if you remember, he didn't actually leave. We told the cast members to call security immediately, and that's when he hightailed it out.
It took a long time to get that guy out.
Yeah, it wasn't until we threatened to call security and call the cops, which in hindsight, maybe we should have done at the beginning.
No.
But like we said in the beginning, we weren't exactly sure exactly what he was doing.
I think at some point you want to give someone the benefit of the doubt, but this went past that benefit of the doubt point to where nope, I trust I trust nobody anymore.
Well, and we asked him are you going to meet the princesses? Are you going to have your own, meet and greet with the princesses? And he flat out said, no, I'm not here to meet the princesses. And that was well, what are you doing here then? That's why we're here. We're here to meet the princesses. So if you're going to admit that you're not here to meet the princesses, you don't need to be in here.
But yeah, so after that, we really went out and kind of did some research on that. Talking with my cousin, he has beautiful children, and so really, it really makes us wonder. And so after that, we went, and Catherine especially did some research, and that's when we kind of put together the blog post that we did, which has gotten a lot of traction.
So if you don't know what we're talking about, and we didn't know what was happening either, but apparently what they do is they take photos of children. They text or email those photos to potential buyers, as terrible as that is, and then they get a yes or no, and they follow you around the park until they get a yes or no, and they look for an opportunity. And there are unfortunately horrible tales of this happening over and over and over again. You know the tales that happen. Airports are rife with stories like this. Most recently there was a woman who tried to grab 2 kids out of the Atlanta airport, and thankfully she was thwarted because the public rallied and they stopped her.
Yep.
But airports are one of the notorious places for this happening, because if you travel and you know this, or if you've ever traveled, children don't need ID and they don't need proof that they belong to the parents. And so anybody can travel with any child and take them anywhere with any name on any ticket, and it doesn't have to match.
Yeah. So trafficking is disgusting, despicable, and it's one of the biggest secrets hidden out there.
Yeah.
It's disgusting. So major events, you think you're safe at Disneyland, you think you're safe at a major event, you're not. You're not safe in airports. The Super Bowl is what, the largest venue for sex trafficking on the planet, and that's a major event, right? What else?
So airports, train stations, shopping malls, anywhere where there is just a high traffic area, a lot of people and a lot of exits.
But really the reason we're doing this video is to at least do our small part in bringing more awareness to child trafficking, sex trafficking in general.
Yeah, and I hate that term. It's rape. It's rape no matter how you look at it. It's horrible. It's one of the most horrific things that can ever occur, and I just can't stand putting any other name on it. So we have traveled a lot. We've traveled all over, and we have been very, very careful. So nothing like this that we are aware of that we've ever noticed has ever happened to us before. But we have several rules that we abide by when we travel. And one is that instead of me trying to make sure that I have eyes on all 4 children, I am in charge of 2 and he's in charge of 2, or depending on the time. And now that doesn't mean I'm I'm not worried about all 4. It just means that when we're in a high traffic area, I've got 2 hands and 2 kids, and he's got 2 hands and 2 kids. And we just always make sure when I'm I've got my 2, and he's I've got mine 2.
Yeah, we've had situations where one will take off and we have to do it. So I think, the biggest point, please always be cognizant of where your kids are. There are a lot of resorts. If you're a big time traveler, there are some of them that I would avoid ever being separated with your kids. One of those is places like Atlantis. Never let your kid go off alone, no matter how old they are. It's dangerous. It's a dangerous world out there.
And a lot of children will feel slighted, they'll feel like they're not trusted, or that, they never get to a point where they're old enough and responsible enough. And it just needs to be reiterated to children that this isn't about the trust level that you have for the child. It's that evil, nefarious people will do whatever they can and whatever they have to. And children just aren't equipped with the brain capacity to be able to pay attention and know how to get out of these situations. Now, that's not to say you can't teach them skills. And so we have several rules. One rule is if we do, for some horrible reason, do get separated, they don't leave. They don't go and try and find us.
They don't go with anybody else?
They stay where they are. And if somebody comes in and approaches them and says, can I help you find your parent? The answer is no. The answer is you can wait with me here, but I don't leave here. Because we'll know the last place that we saw them and we will come and find them there. And again, that has never happened, but that's our family rule.
What we do teach our kids is you never separate. When you're like, if our kids are together, you never separate.
Oh, you have a buddy system.
And you scream.
Yeah.
When in doubt, scream your head off.
Yeah.
Never apologize for screaming.
And never stop screaming. So we always have a buddy system. You don't go to the bathroom alone. You don't go anywhere alone. You don't, even if it's around the corner, we're always together. Our children are getting old enough now that they do want to have a little bit of freedom, and we allow that to a certain degree, but they always have to have a buddy. And so that buddy is responsible. It's a lot harder to grab 2 kids than it is to grab 1 kid. The kid is responsible for screaming. I mean, they're both responsible for screaming, but the one is responsible for screaming bloody murder and never ever stopping.
Yep. And we did put some links on our blog of stuff that we haven't used, but you can use. There are like trackers you can put in your kids' shoes. There are watches or necklaces that actually can have GPS trackers on them. But once again, if we're aware of them, so are traffickers. The first thing they'll probably do is take off their shoes and kind of anything that could be trackable to make sure those children can't be tracked. They're smart, they're devious, they're dirty. And usually with all of our Vlogcast and everything we talk about, we usually say, do you agree or disagree with us? Put your comments below. If you disagree with us that trafficking is an issue or think that we didn't take this seriously, you're welcome to leave a comment. But I also would like to preface that with take your head out of your butt, because this is a serious topic and you are an idiot if you want to argue anything that we've said at all.
Another person that you may want to look up if you are interested in learning more about this is his name is Tim Ballard, and he's the founder of the ORU, the Underground Railroad. And he used to work for the CIA, and he would rescue. It was his job to go and rescue children who were in these, in these situations, in these horrible circumstances. And he has put out hundreds of videos about this, pointers that parents can do, all sorts of things that will help you as a parent. But he also has a set of rules that he abides by as a parent. And those are great to look out for. But I really want to point out something. And one of the reasons that we're doing this is that this problem has grown exponentially since the onset of this pandemic. And this is not a political statement. The fact of the matter is, if you put a mask on your child in a public situation, you cannot recognize them. And there are thousands of videos of people showing that if you have a mask on a child and you have a girl and you put their hair up in a bun and a baseball cap on them, they don't look the same. These people will take their clothes and turn their shirt on inside out, put a baseball cap on them, and they look completely different. You cannot recognize them. It's not worth it to us. You can choose for yourself as a parent, but we have not been doing activities where we are in crowded places that require masks. It's not worth it to us. We are going to stay, at outdoor areas. We're going to stay at less crowded areas. We're going to do things as a family that are more intimate, because that is a huge risk. And I'm going to just reiterate what Gabriel said. If you can't see that, you have a huge problem and you are putting yourself at risk. And that is us standing on a soapbox. This is something very real, and it's something that almost happened to us. And so this is very scary.
Regardless of if it almost happened to us. If you are aware of this, then we love you, and keep being aware of it. If this is new to you, do some freaking research. Do a little bit of research, look into it. And even if it doesn't affect your own kids, be aware when you go out and about. Look for other situations where other things happening. We were actually on a trip back from Florida a little while ago, and we passed a U-Haul truck off to the side of the road.
Well, we passed a toll station, so we were slowed down enough that we could actually see what this was.
Yeah, so we're going through a toll station, and off to the side of the road was a big U-Haul truck. And the police were
moving truck. There
was a big moving truck that were going past at a toll station with cops surrounding it, and the back of it was open as we were going past, and it was just chock full of women, and it really, my stomach just sunk. Because they are shipping people around in broad daylight, in moving trucks, in shipping containers, like you name it, they will find a way. Because next, I think this is even competing with the amount of money that drug dealing gets in the U.S. And you know what?
No, it's more now.
Oh, is it more?
It is the leading money. It's the highest grossing industry in the United States. So don't think that this is a problem that happens in Amsterdam or happens in Thailand, where it does. It's actually the fastest growing enterprise in the United States. So your children are at risk in America to be, targeted right here in the United States of America.
So stay vigilant, keep your eyes open. You may be saving a life.
If not your own, perhaps somebody else's.
So this was a more serious topic than we usually talk about. I know we went on a little bit, but we do feel it's extremely important. We will add some links below on some further information. If you're interested in checking that out, please do. If you find the information and the stuff we talk about helpful, please consider subscribing. It really helps support our channel. And thank you for watching.
Please also consider sharing this. If you know somebody that could benefit from this information, or you know somebody that might not be aware of it that does have small children, like I said, this is growing, and this isn't our opinion. This is known facts. There's an FBI bureau that is dedicated just to this, and they go out and they give conferences about this all the time, and they show you and tell you what you should be looking for, because it is such a horrible growing trend here, and they need all the help from all the citizens that can see and that can find, that hear things, that see things that look out of place, that aren't right. And we as parents, we need to look out for each other, and we do need to help each other, and we do need to be aware of what's going on, because if we are not aware, just like we weren't, like I said, it may have ended differently, and we may be able to stop it from ending differently for somebody else.